All right, welcome to Stampscaping 1, not really 101, the Stampscapes lab, okay? We're going to try something that's, I think, going to be a little bit awkward here, but hey, what the heck. All right, so 3 different types of paper here. We have the semi-dark blue foil here. And then we have the printable vinyl sticker paper. It's this kind of shimmery one. It came in a multi-pack. And that's going to be used for my Seaside Cove. Here, I need to flatten that out a little bit. So this is sticker paper. I stamped out my Seaside Cove onto it. Hello, Froggy Fresh! And I used a Brilliance black ink. So I used my Brilliance black ink on here. And then I took paper to stamp like that. Okay, I just laid it down, semi-carefully. And then I flattened it out a little bit. And then I used a brayer on it. Okay, and sometimes it's easier to take paper to stamp when the stamp is that extreme and large like that. Okay, and then I stuck that on this craft paper here because it doesn't match up at all, but I figured this will represent my sand area down here, so let's just see how it works. Okay, but here's the thing. If I use this one all down here, I think it'd be okay, but I didn't know if I'd be able to see. This one's going to have baby sea turtles down here, so I didn't know if I'd be able to see them on top of this, very well at least, okay? So we're going to try this, and then this is going to be like a nighttime sky up here. So, I mean, these things aren't matching, at all, okay? So I'm going to see if I can kind of bring them together with a little bit of cohesion. It's not supposed to look realistic, so I'm just, I'm not even worried about that at all, okay? So I'm going to put some clouds up here on this foil, and we'll do the rip paper towel technique, and I'll try to add in some Brilliance white up there to create some clouds, and then I think I'm going to have a moon up here because I think I'm going to put a moon down here. Now, the time to do that is really before you stamp your main imagery over that, because you can lay down your lighting down here and do some blocking out with the white Brilliance ink. And then you stamp over it with the image. But just in terms of positioning and everything like that, I just didn't know where any of this was going to go. So I just stamped it first, and I was thinking maybe I can bring in some white elements into the Seaside Cove image and give it a little bit more depth and lighting and shade. I played around with the white pastel pencil on it a little bit, and I thought, it does seem to apply to it a little bit. My black colored pencil does not. It doesn't really relieve anything. So I don't know, maybe something like a black Conte crayon or something like that might be able to work on this, or a black pastel. I don't know. But it would be interesting if we can use some pastels on this type of paper. It would open up a whole new kind of media surface combination to explore. But that being said, okay, so let's get into this right here. So that means that this is going to be a horizon card right here. I have 5 inches by 8.5 right here. 5.5, half page piece. There was a little bit too much sky and a little bit too much area down here, so I just trimmed it off. I just put it in my trimmer and just trimmed it all at once. So it's going to be like that. And so these separate pieces will get adhered into this when the 2 separate areas are complete. It's easier to work on these pieces separate from the card. Okay, you don't want to kind of glue these down and then try to work on this separate from, you know what I mean? It'd be too awkward. So do that after when doing this type of thing. Horizon or reflection cards generally. Reflection cards, I don't know, maybe not so much because I barely do anything to that lower portion on a reflection card. Hello, Patty, Linda, Phyllis, good to see you. Cynthia, how are you today? Okay, so let's get to it. So let's start with this one right here. Let's go with the ripped paper towel technique. I might be extra all over the place on this this presentation. If anyone is just like logging in for the first time or watching this on replay, well, that's the way, like a lot of these videos go, because I'm just kind of trying out some new things. But some of the videos are like extra, I don't know, whatever, exploratory, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I'll try to explain at least the concept of what I'm going after. Okay, so there's going to be, on the horizon, the Palm Island, okay? But if I just stamp that down there in black ink over the top of this foil, I mean, when you look at the foil in some angles, it would be like black on top of like a really dark blue, okay, and it would barely show up. And plus, we want the background to be a little bit more interesting anyway. So I'm going to lay down this Brilliance ink on here, and hopefully we'll get some clouds. Now that I'm thinking about this, I should have spray sealed this before because it's going to be a little bit... this blue is going to bleed into this white right here. I think I've tried this one before. You can almost kind of see it too. There's like little specks on this foil where they have printed, you can see it right there, where they've printed this blue probably over the top of like a silver foil. And that's what's giving it that kind of shimmery look to it. It's that under, the base coat of silver, or the, I don't know, whatever the foundation coat is. And they just print these colors right over the top of it. So yeah, let's get a new cotton ball here. So this color is just sitting on here. It hasn't been sealed off, so it can come off potentially when doing this type of application of ink over the top of it. Okay, so I just want to get some kind of rounded forms here. I want it a little bit varied, like clouds are. Okay. Let's go for something a little bit more rounded. Okay, so I have that, right? This is a special type of paper towel here. It's a Crafter's cloud masking towel, they call it. I'm just joking. Just your basic paper towels here. All right. I think that looks good, and this is going to go right on the horizon right here. So let's see, let's go a little bit lower like this. I'm going to have it coming from above and below, I've decided. And in the middle here, the impetus for this card, or I don't know, whatever it was, I was thinking about baby sea turtles on like a blue foil with some clear crystals on there. Because I think you can kind of have any kind of scene or subject matter almost. And if you do it on like blue foil or dark blue card stock and you use white and silver with it, it can really become kind of a holiday type of, theme or scenario or, seasonal type of thing. All right. Paper, cotton ball, 100% cotton ball. Mash it down like that to really flatten out that cotton ball like that, so it's nice and flat and inked up beyond the surface. When you smash it down a little bit, that ink penetrates the surface a little bit more, and that's what you want. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit thicker right around the edge here, and then I'm going to try to taper it off a little bit. So I don't want just a uniform application of this white ink on here. Okay. Now this white ink is going to be in solution for a pretty long time. All right, I'm getting some of that fuzz there. Let me smash that down a little bit more. When the cotton ball's real new, it can kind of fray like that. So they're actually a little bit better to use the second project or second day. I just leave these sitting on my table. And beyond that, I don't know. Third day, sometimes I can use them, sometimes not. They get too permeated with ink, and then it's coming off like in a flat application as opposed to a kind of a nice soft application. And for clouds, I just want them, that from a textural standpoint, to be nice and soft. All right, so anyways, see this right here? And you don't have to stay in one spot, like a typical, whatever, template, okay? See this, you kind of move it around, and your clouds, as a result, because clouds are moving in the sky, right? So just in terms of theory or in application here, I'm doing the same type of thing. See how I'm kind of moving this around a little bit? And then you get this kind of fluid, or maybe a more fluid looking kind of natural cloud that way. Like that. See that? And then you can come over here a little bit more. And you can apply a different application or thickness of your inks as well. So I'm kind of doing that as well. And then when you do that, you can kind of go up and give it some free form application like this, okay? So one of the things I'm doing is I'm adjusting my pressure that I tap this out in so that I'm not removing what's already down there, because that can be removed still very easily, okay? So just kind of play around with it and get the feel of it, okay? Don't go like that and do one thing and then kind of tap in there and, remove something and say, oh my God, it's so hard. You just kind of keep working with it. And after you do like this, one or two of these, you really have the feel of it. And then, I don't know, if I don't do this for a while, I kind of have to, relearn it sometimes when I go back to it, but it comes back, really fast. I remember about how much ink, I should be using on there. And it's different for different foils too, sometimes. Some foils are a little bit more, I wouldn't say porous, but they're a little bit more, have a different texture to them. Some of them are very sealed off, okay? And some of them are, like I said on this one, yeah, I am getting a little bit of that blue on here. You can see it coming right off the page. But they're all a little different from one another. You don't have to change your technique a huge amount, but you have to adjust a little bit, And again, this one's like going to be very different from how you would handle something like, the printable vinyl, where I'll use this on here. Now this one is really designed to accept ink. Something like that is not. This one I'll need to spray seal. Yeah, Frankie Fresh, how's everything going? Okay, see that right there? A little bit of a dual kind of layering going on right there. I don't like it. Those two are really too similar, so I'll just kind of blend a little bit on one side. And then also you want to use your dry cotton ball too. I'll let fuzz there. Okay, so this is going to be my horizon down here. Now I'm going to have some clouds coming from above too. Okay, so I'm going to put. So there's going to be. What's going to look like is there's going to be a break in the clouds right here, and that's where I'm going to put in like a little Milky Way and some stars in there. The moon is going to be in there as well. Okay, let's see here too. I want to go a little bit lighter in some of these clouds. Speaking of the moon, I want some of these clouds to be really illuminated by that moonlight. So go like that, and as this dries, it gets darker as well from both drying a little bit more towards whatever the transparency end of the spectrum, from opacity. And then you also get some of that ink bleeding into it, I think. Okay. So, yes, so I hit it a little bit more here, here, and down here to illuminate those. So it looks like a little bit more of a deeper, I don't know, whatever, cloudy area. It's dense with clouds as opposed to kind of a flattened type of, two-dimensional area. Okay, so let's go up here and let me see. I don't want to just go straight across the top right here. I think I'll try to angle it maybe, one way or another. I usually do it this way and have it kind of angled down this way, I think. So let's go this way. I mean, you can use a different paper towel if it's getting, if you feel that there's like a real specific area on this shape that's going to be, too redundant, then just kind of, whatever, tear accordingly. You can make this go a little bit faster too. Try to load this up with a little bit more ink. My pad is kind of medium dry. So I kind of leave it that way most of the time. So I have a little bit more control over it. Because I usually don't want to have like a big slathering, like a glob of ink. See this right here? I'm just kind of crimping this a little bit to kind of move that a little bit to vary it. Okay, so that's my edge right there. This cotton ball is really fraying on me. Okay, let's go like that. Okay, so they're right there, and then you merge it together a little bit more, like that. And then vary the background a little bit more. Make it kind of going in there without like a less smooth application, which a lot of people are always trying for with media applications usually. They want it like super smooth and transition, but in this case, I think it looks better if it's kind of varied and kind of almost lumpy, okay? So you kind of have to work against maybe, habit or goal with this type of application. Sometimes people have a harder time doing that though, because they've been working on kind of blending everything so perfectly with, especially things like alcohol inks and colored pencils or something like that, using Gamsol or using their blender pens with alcohol. I mean, which looks great, but with a lot of these types of things like this, kind of make it a little bit more, I don't know, maybe free form, free flowing like that. And it can benefit you. And like I said, it takes the heat off of getting anything really too specifically, you know, applied. Let's see here. How long do you let dry? Candy, for me, I don't know. The shortest amount of time I would have this before spray sealing is probably like 5 minutes or something like that. Now, it's probably preferable if I wait like a half an hour, but I don't know. Like I haven't been doing that a lot of times when I'm doing these videos and I need to spray seal something as like one of the steps in the process. I just don't, I don't want to wait like a half an hour, you know, because when we're working on stuff and, we get these ideas of how we want, our next step, we kind of want to get it to, get to what we want to get to. So I've probably just been waiting like a few minutes sometimes. So I'm spray sealing some things a lot of times when they're still wet, okay? But again, it also depends on how much you're layering too. Like there's quite a bit of, white ink on this. So if it was just like something where I'm doing like mist at the base of some trees or something like that, then it would be a very thin application like right over here. But like in these areas up here, there's quite a bit of ink. So I might wait a little bit longer, or I might spray seal like a couple extra coats on there. Okay, let's see. Let's kind of make it a little bit more misty. I think like that. We'll see how this is looking here. Okay. That's already looking a lot better. Look at that. It's kind of reflecting down here. So maybe I don't need to do so much with the white in the printable vinyl because it's already a little bit reflective like that. Okay. I hope I don't ruin it with the Palm Island stamp. See, I should really spray seal this before I hit it with the island stamp right here, like that, because I'm worried about going into this wet ink. Speaking of, how long do you wait to, and then going into it with black, and then lifting this off. And instead of transferring the black from this, I'm lifting off the white of the cloud, if they're still wet. So that's kind of, that's one of those, whatever, considerations. Okay, so that really looks like a daytime scene, though, doesn't it? I really want... The whole point of this is stars, though. But it looks like we can have that as a daytime scene, too. So I'm going to put the moon up there. And I think... Okay, so let me see where that would go. If I put the moon right there, I think it'll reflect right in here. If you go too high with the moon, like up here, it creates, that reflection area from up here, in relation to down here. You can see the top of that cloud right here is right here. So if I put the moon up here, it's not going to be reflecting down in, this water area, which would be fine. But I think I want it reflecting, so I think I'm going to go right around here, so it'll be a little bit more noticeable in that reflection area of the printable holographic glitter vinyl sticker paper. I'm laughing, every time I have to think of that that type of paper. It's when I don't use it and I'm doing these videos, I have to think, okay, what was that whole? We need an acronym for it or something. Okay, so just a 1 inch hole punch. Um, Whatever template, moon template, sun, whatever it is. I use it for my suns too. Okay, so there. I went pretty thick because I really want that to be nice and light. Yeah, look at that. That's reflecting down there pretty good. I mean, not super reflective, but you know, it's very apparent down there. I thought I would, and again, I thought I would have to add some highlighting down here with somehow do it in white ink, but I don't know. I think that reads strong enough to where I don't need to do that. So there's your reflection aspect of it. I'm going to put some, by the way, if any of you are kind of ahead of me thinking about this, I am going to put some crystals in here. And it's not always a great idea because, you know, these things get mailed this way and you're going to have these raised crystals kind of poking in down here. I don't care, okay? I want to see some bling up there. I mean, one of the things you could do is if you mail something like this out and you have these three-dimensional objects in here, maybe you mail it out with an extra piece of cardstock in between here, and you mail it out like that. So when someone gets it, they take the cardstock out, and then they, you know, they open it up like that. So it's not denting this area down here. But anyway, okay. So let's just stick with that for right now. Oh, here. Let's do this right now. Maybe let's put in some other. Let's put in those crystals right now. Actually, I was going to splatter paint this, but the mistake I always make with that is after I splatter paint it, when I add those glue dots down here, it's hard for me to see where those glue dots are because they all look like the you know, the other stars that are already kind of splattered in there. You got a 6-year-old Chihuahua. How many dogs do you have now, Froggy Fresh? That looks like that household is never. It seems like it's always a bundle of energy there, and a lot of fun. Hello, Ginger. Oh, I just read Patty's. So sorry to hear that, Patty. He bit you 3 times and attacked my. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks so much for trying to help him or her. Oh, him. All right. So let's see here. So I really want this to be kind of an exciting sky here. So I'm going to put in quite a few of these stars. Okay, so just standard, whatever, crafter's ink right here. I find this crafter's ink really dries really fast. And yes, there are stars in this sky during a full moon. Okay, so I'm gonna do something like that. So again, quite a few. My suggestion for all of you is to, I don't know, do your initials up there or something like that in the crystals, and then you splatter paint it to kind of obscure it. So, you know, you'll have your signature up in the sky. I don't know if I've done that yet, but I've hidden my like initials, not in the nature stuff, but in a lot of the like the Greco-Roman series. I used to do little fun things like that. It's just kind of in the texture of the marble. All right, let's see if we can get these in here. So these are the smallest ones, but I'll have some larger ones in here as well. Yeah, all these little dots. God, they dry so fast. These really small dots. As fast as I'm working, I thought I'd be working like fast enough. Boy. I might be thinking of Elmer's glue or something like that since it's this white anyway, you know, about kind of the drying time. You know, thinking I'm working fast enough. Okay, like all of these dried up on me. I was kind of going for a little bit of a smaller dot. Okay, here we go. I probably added more this time, but okay, let me go for that. That one's drying over there on me. I'm going to go for a little bit of a larger star. Right there. I think I'll just keep all the rest of them uniform. I think I got some glue on my gem picker here. I just glued one of them down to the paper over here. Okay. Some of those new dots of glue I've already dried too. Okay, so it looks like that. All right. Bleed proof white. Let's just make this fast here. I could add in a bunch of like stars in here with the just with the acrylic paint pen, but let's just do it quickly with the bleed proof. It'll give me a little bit more variation too, especially with the uniformity of the crystals. Ginger, this is no, this one's a kind of a blue foil out of a multi-pack that I got. This particular one, this one's real similar to just making sure that it wasn't. It's real similar to the Recollections primary pack blue, I would say. The Jewel Tone pack is a little bit more violet blue. That's one of my favorites. And then there's another kind of greenish, like a aqua blue in that Jewel Tone pack. But this one's real similar to the Recollections, yeah. Just basic primary. I'm saying that what it's real similar to because they don't have the holographic multicolored blue pack that this one specifically came out of. But you know, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of like blue foil packs out there, so you can just use just about anything. Okay, so see what I do right here. I'm holding this at a little bit of an angle because if I just go straight down, sometimes I can get a drip, especially when I start splatter painting. So. And some of these will go onto my clouds and it'll look like in front of the clouds, but so be it. I'm going kind of close if I want to go for this more kind of Milky Way type of thing. where it's kind of going in a certain location. If I just want like a general area of stars, then I go higher up just so it splatters more evenly. But this one I'm kind of going for this kind of directional application. Okay, I'm getting a very uniform splatter. A lot of times I like a little bit more of a varied splatter, but I don't have control over this enough, to do that. Sometimes going a little bit thicker seems to give me a more varied splatter. I get some thicker dots, and sometimes it seems like when I'm doing it with like a thinner version, I get more varied. I don't know, maybe it has to do with the amount of paint that you have up here too. Okay, but that being said, if you want to go for kind of more of a varied size of star too, then you just add it in with your paint pens or gel pens, whatever you have. One of the things I'm kind of happy about right here is this, I don't know, that blue hasn't permeated this white ink as much here, so as much as I thought it would. I thought these would be getting much darker by now, but they look okay so far. Now, that being said, too, when I'm doing these stars like this, sometimes it permeates my acrylic paint after I've applied it, so the dots don't look as white and bright. So all foils are a little bit different. What would look good up here too, maybe if you used, if you have like a blue glitter pen or a silver glitter pen, I think that would look cool too, or like a wink of Stella, anything like that. If you want to kind of embellish on here, I think that would be kind of neat. So anyways, it's a little bit over the top, with those stars in there, but I really want them to stand out, in this type of scenario like this. I want it really to look real, super whimsical and, I don't know, kind of almost like fantasy. I don't know. Okay, so see this right here? See how that's where I put my finger. So this is still very prone to, being removed even after it starts to set up and dry on there. But then you just go back and you just go back in there and touch it up. I'm surprised that I don't have a ton more finger print removals of ink all throughout this. I usually do. Maybe I'm learning how to hold these things more or better on a subconscious level where I'm not touching everything right here. Okay. So that is that. And again, if you just joined in, this will have to be spray sealed. Okay, and I'm gonna spray seal mine with a workable fixative. Okay, but if you have any kind of acrylic spray, it should work just fine. Kind of a light coating. Don't slather it, too heavily with the coating, especially if it's like your first kind of pass with the spray. Otherwise, it'll kind of start to remove some of that coloring on there, which is just printer's ink, blue printer's ink over, your base color, probably silver foil. Okay, all right, now this is a problem area here because this is very plain and this is very dynamic. Now this is it's dynamic in that it's reflective foil to begin with, but now we've made it kind of a little bit more dynamic with all that variation on there. So I'm going to stamp out my turtles first, and then we're going to try to texturize it, and then I'll do some shading on here. It's not going to bring it up to par with these other types of, you know, holographics and reflective metallics, but we need to bring some variation into it just so that it can kind of I don't know, harmonize with it a little bit at least. Okay. All right. So what in the world? Froggy Fresh, someone stepped in front of a train, huh? And okay, your husband was waiting for the train when it happened. Did he? Yeah, I hope he didn't see that. Well, he probably saw the aftermath of that, though, right? How horrific. All right. I have these baby sea turtles. Here's the smaller one. I'm stamping it up a little bit higher to represent something farther in the distance like that. Okay. And now we have a couple different rock textures here, okay? Well, tiny rocks and tiny rocks small, so I'm going to be texturizing all around this. So what's going through my mind right now is I'm wondering if I should use like a color for these, or if I just should go with all black and then just use variations of black. Okay, by the way, I'm using my Brilliance black right here. That new hybrid black would probably work really well too. I think anything. This craft paper, maybe, I'd probably get a little bit more of a nicer impression, maybe, with, you know, this thicker style of ink. I don't know. You know, because the craft paper is, you know, it's very porous and textural. Okay, so I don't want to go too close to those turtles because they're like the same, you know, kind of shape as these rocks right here I'm seeing. So I'll be careful about that. I don't want to completely obscure them. You know, they're kind of like the star of the scene. Okay, here's the smaller one right here. So that being said, I can come into it and hit some of these lighter impressions of the... Let me change my exposure on my camera a little bit. Okay, there we go. I'll hit some lighter impressions with this just to get it a little bit more textured in here. So it might be the, I don't know, whatever the third, fourth, fifth, you know, impression of this one inking of this stamp, you know, so I get these lighter textures within that space. Okay, I might add more, but let's just go with that for right now. Okay, like these ones right here might have been a little bit too dark, but I think I stayed away from those turtles enough to not obscure them. Okay, let's go for these. I have this stamp right here that reminds me of that pickle weed or what, something. I think it's what it's called in those like intertidal zones, you know, where it's like freshwater and saltwater mixed. Is that what it's called? Or is the intertidal zone the tide pools? I forget what you call it. Those areas where someone, I don't know, someone always knows these questions on there. It's where it's like salt water kind of merges with fresh water. Hello, Jen. Light yellow with white. Great in a photo, but you can barely see it really. Wiped it off. Oh, okay, yeah. Light yellow with white. I think I used a light yellow with white on mine too. I think that the one that I did, I was trying to think if I used black on it or something like that. On those holographics, though, the thing that really works for me is to use that splatter painting on them for those stars. Because sometimes those stars, the white on those holographics really stabilizes the piece. I don't know if I have one here still. Okay, yeah, well, oh yeah, well, here it is right here. I thought I gave away a lot of these already, but here's the white on this. This one might be the more golden holographic than the yellow holographic, though. But, oh, and for the imagery, though, yeah, on something like this, if you're going with white on something like a light holographic, go with, kind of a bolder image. So sometimes I have to combine things. Like if it was just like imagery and, like the width of that piece down there, it would get overpowered a little bit, I think. So I overexpose my camera here, on this, but I don't know, you can kind of see that. Okay, so adding this little foreground here. Okay. Kind of angling my imagery inward. So on this one right here, I have to kind of really bend it over like that, to get those kind of pointing towards, my subject matter. Something like that. Okay. I might need to, I don't know. I think that that holographic messed up my exposure. Here we go. There we go. All right. So I think that looks okay. So we'll add in a little bit of variation down here using some white media as well. Okay, let's see where we stand though. So always get your bearings whenever you're doing things where you're combining things together, or they're being, the purpose is to, utilize them and, together like that. You can see I put my card down on top of this right there, and see it scratched off my ink like that. So that being said, it really needs to be spray sealed. That looks pretty good without the Palm Island. I do want to use that Palm Island in there though. But I can always change up and not. Now that I'm kind of mentioning that, after I get it done, it's like some will be saying, "Oh, that looked better without it." That being said, if I do it in the Brilliance ink, and you see how that ink comes off, I can just wipe off, the Palm Island and the background clouds. I would just have to do the background. I'd have to do that all over again. The cloud background in there. Which I'd rather not, but it would be no big deal if I had to. It'll wipe off, really easily. Okay, so that being said, let's just do that right now. Let's add this in. So I'm going to add extra ink to this so that I know there's a pretty, nice adequate amount of this black ink on my stamp. Because if you go with a drier stamp into kind of a wetter area, then you're going to be probably removing ink as opposed to transferring it on there. So you want your stamp to be at least as wet as, your surface. So that's where one of these things, about playing around with metallics or non-porous surfaces in general, you're dealing with kind of wet inks, which I do on like glossy cardstock, when I'm applying like a ton of layers of a dye-based ink and I'm layering it, layer over layer of ink. That it builds up and it gets pretty moist, but it's not like this, where this is like 100% surface-oriented applications of media, where it's not absorbing into the surface at all. Just with the dye-based ink, it's kind of, you start moving towards super saturation, but it is saturating your surface, be it semi-gloss or glossy cardstock, even a matte cardstock, a coated matte cardstock. So the thing is just, get a feel of it. But the thing about it is too, like I said, with like the Brilliance ink on here, you can just wipe it off if you get anything you don't like, and you can totally practice and play around with things until you get the feel of it. It's not just the inks, but it's how much you apply sometime and how long you hold your ink down, stamp down for when you're making your impressions. It can make a difference. So just kind of play around with it and get a feel for it with whatever ink and brand of ink you're using. Okay, let's see how this works out here. The super tiny bling, I do too, Nancy. And that's something I didn't do. I didn't add these kind of like, I didn't use exciting surfaces, although a lot of people consider, glossy cardstock to be a pretty dynamic surface, but I wasn't using metallics and foils and, glittery types of things. And I always thought about crystals, like going back a really long ways, but I never got around to using them until, I don't know, a couple years. Okay, so that stamped out just fine on there. So you guys are worried about nothing, I have one of the technique that I haven't done on the foils in a long time is where you do that coated kind of slathering of ink, and then you stamp into it with a clean stamp, and then do that removal like that, and it removes the ink, so you have like a reverse impression. So that's what I was worried about, kind of happening here potentially, just because you can see that white ink is just floating on the surface like that. Okay, so one thing someone was saying in a Facebook comment recently that I saw was they were having troubles with the foil that they were using. Okay, so I asked them. I'm glad they answered me, because a lot of times people won't answer me when I say, okay, well, what media were you using on there? Okay, so they said, well, I used the Brilliance, but then for the black ink, they used VersaFine Clair. Okay, and I mean it's a good thing to kind of test out and try like that, but VersaFine Clair is a real kind of oil-based pigment ink, so I mean it had a chance of working because you had that base of the Brilliance ink that dried on there. So if it provided kind of a thick enough surface for the VersaFine Clair to penetrate and then to kind of dry in the dried Brilliance ink, maybe it would work, but it didn't work. It was just her images were floating on the surfaces, as she put it. So it just never dried on there. So doing this in the Brilliance right over the top of it, that worked. There's a chance that something like a StazOn black could work. Now right here, I didn't get a perfect impression of that palm tree, but I think it worked out okay. So this is what we're looking at now, like that. Okay, now we got this area, these two areas addressed as far as our impressions go, but now we want to add a little bit more volume and depth into it. I know how to do it here, I think. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it on here yet. So I'll ponder that as I get to some of this right here. So I'm just going to use a a black colored pencil down here. So we're going to try to create some extra shading around this water line right here. And I'll put a little bit of touches of shadow work in this area as well. Okay. Let's see here. The lightness yellow for just experiment, but crazy streaks with lights. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you want to. Maybe the black would, or I don't know. Sometimes you can go with other types of colors too. I don't have a huge amount of different colors of like pigment inks. It's typically been the just the black and white, and then I have silver and gold as far as some other metallics go that can look pretty cool on different foils. I don't know if I've stamped out any silver or gold ink onto the holographics though. I've done it on the just the silver and gold, just the solid silver and gold types of mirrored cardstocks, and I really like that combination. I like stamping the gold. I think it was Brilliance on to the gold paper, and then I use white for my foreground objects, and that really stands out really well because the gold ink and the gold paper are they're a little bit different types of variations of gold, so it the gold ink stands out against it, but that's really fun to use. And again, like the silver on silver. Should Dr. Martens be more runny? It just depends. You can have a little bit more runny. I mean, if I needed to really splatter paint a large area, I might make it a little bit thinner just because, it extends it more. In terms of like inking it up and splattering it. But I tend to, the kind of this description of the consistency that I go for, it's more of like not a real like maple syrup, but like a cheap one, where it's a little bit runnier. Maybe more like it's like thinner than motor oil or something like that though too. But yeah, like a thin syrup or something like that. But pretty watery. I don't want it. I generally don't do it too thick. I don't know. Maybe I'd get better application of it. The thicker it is, though, just in theory, and I'm guessing this is what's happened in mine too. Sometimes when it's thicker, like when I have a brand new bottle or something like that, where a lot of it is already in solution, and it's probably a little bit thicker. Because I say that because as I start using my bottle more and more, I just put a couple drops of liquid in it. So it's my bottle of paint, it's like always dry when I go to it. Okay. And I just put a couple drops in there and I just kind of mix up a little bit that I'm going to be using, which is barely anything, the way I use it. So it's always, you know, oh, it's probably a little bit drier, I'm guessing. Okay, so I'm giving this a little bit more of a vignette right here. So I'm kind of bringing in some of the shading in here. I really want it more shaded around the water line right here, but I don't want to get it too dark though. And I don't want this just to be kind of all one uniform, like dark right here and then just bare craft paper. Okay, so I'm kind of bringing some of this in here like this. See, this is like where the turtles are right here and here. So I want them to kind of stand out a little bit more. So I'm bringing in like a really light shade of, it's black, but it's like I don't know, like a 10% gray in here, like that. And then I want them to stand out a little more here too, so let's come in like this. I mean, it doesn't have to look like they're, like in a spotlight or something like that, but what you are kind of doing is you are kind of spotlighting a little bit by putting a little bit of tone. I just want it to look a little bit more natural than like a spotlit area, like this little area of light like that. And I don't darken anything too dark. I always just kind of make it a little bit toned in. And then I look at it, and then if I want to make something a little bit, darker, I will. But I'll just kind of do it like a couple percentage, points at a time. I mean, with each stroke like this, it's probably like, I don't know, like a 2% gray or something like that, so repeated passes like that, it kind of gets a little bit darker and darker and darker. I'm using a little bit more pressure. Okay, but I want it to kind of transition out like that. Okay, so let's try some of this white pastel pencil. That'll work down here just fine, but let's see how this is going to look too. Okay. Something's changing too, because when I hold this like this is reflecting back up in here, so it's kind of illuminating things a little bit more with all my like studio lighting in here. So there's quite a bit of light. Like that looks different, right, than that. But I don't know, I guess it doesn't change too much. Okay, so I'm looking at this. I want to see where that moon is, so we'll kind of illuminate down here a little bit with this pencil, if we can. It might look kind of weird, though, because I have this white down here suddenly. But let's see how it goes. Let's see. Hello, Jeannie. So we're talking about, Dr. Martens. I was saying, is Jeannie here? Jeannie goes through a bottle a day, basically. You can ask her about, Jeannie's like the expert on the Dr. Martens, and, as far as like consistency goes. Although Jeannie's like painting with it, though. I'm just like splatter painting with it, like a, like we did in kindergarten. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of streaking this in here. Let's move that around a little bit too. Or spread it out. You can blend it out like you would, pastels. Oh, I just remembered. Okay, so I splatter painted those stars up there. I was thinking I need to splatter paint down here. But we'll do that after we apply our, whatever we're going to apply down in there, our media. And let's get some of that texturing down in here. All right, so that's a little bit lighter down there like that. Let me see if I can do something. Let me see. I don't know if this is going to stick to... Now, this is where the stays-on pick... I keep forgetting. I need to get a re-inker for that, because that would probably work here. But let me see if I can do something with this pigment ink, this white pigment ink. I'm going to see if this white pigment ink, if I can get an impression onto these areas down here, like at all. I don't know if I can. Over the top of the... colored pencil. I should have done this before I applied the colored pencil, but let's see if we can get away with it a little bit. Okay. I can see it a little bit. Can you? Yeah, you can see that right in there, right? That gives it a little bit more shimmer, so it's kind of, we have these, all these impressions down here of those tiny rocks in black. in variations of gray, but you can add it down here as well with the white, okay? It doesn't read super well, but it just kind of gives it that extra little texturing. All right, that's almost a little bit too much. Let's go back over it with black now again. I think that was the key thing to do here as far as getting kind of a better textural range in this lower section. And then I'll go back and I'll add a little mist in here later on with some white pigment ink and the cotton ball to kind of give it a little bit of haze. But I needed something down there just as far as that textural range. Yeah, it's a little bit too busy right now, but we'll fog that over because I need to do that in the waves anyways. Okay, so let's see if this works. I was thinking this could work, potentially. It seemed like this pastel pencil was sticking to this when I was doing this little test earlier, and it is. This pastel pencil is really amazing because it's so soft. Now I'll need to spray seal this a little bit, so I'm just going to give it a really light spray, but let me see if I can show you what I'm doing here. Yeah, see that right there? And then I can probably move it around a little bit on there if I want to. But I'll do that on all of the, like the crest of these little waves down here. Yeah, that Seaside Cove worked pretty well on that crazy holographic stock, didn't it, Linda? I almost lost my turtles, just found them. Watch out for those small stamps out there, Jeannie. This is the one that people tend to lose, and I tend to lose it too, so I just keep it on my like smallest block because I don't have too many stamps like that size anyways, and I just keep that one on there. And if I need a small block, you know, this one's always here, right in front of on my desk. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles! Yeah, the turtle hatching, that's one of those like bucket list types of things, isn't it? Hello, Bonnie. Good to see you. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can even see these little areas on the waves. I can see it just fine, I guess. So it's just right, you know, they're right over the top. See that dark line right there? As it's going back into this, see these dark lines right here. So I'm just kind of applying this right over that dark line. Those dark lines represent kind of that area underneath the wave, you know, as the waves are cresting. Or, I don't know, some of these are just like little ripples, but... Okay, I'll show you what I'm doing here. See that right there? So I'm really amazed that this this pastel pencil, you know, works on this like at all, and really happy about that because this makes things like so much easier than having to apply like the Brilliance ink over the top of this like a Q-tip, you know. It's like you can color this just like you would, you know, with a colored pencil or anything like that. Okay, so this is a large kind of cresting wave right down here, but see, I'm just getting kind of the top of it. And I think some additional splatter painting should kind of blend these two areas together a little bit more. Now if I need a black pastel colored pencil to get underneath the crest of the waves to deepen the shadows or to develop the shadows. All right, but see how that's looking right there? Ah, my camera's having a hard time kind of adjusting for exposure here with all this reflected light coming off of that. All right, that's coming together a lot easier than I thought because of this. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have a pastel pencil in your repertoire, but or in your supplies, but I would. It really works well on these types of cardstocks like this. I'm really amazed that it's working. Which I doesn't come as any surprise that it's working on, you know, like a paper like this, like a matte paper, but that it's working on something like a printable vinyl. Now, it's not going to work on, you know, like this area, this type of thing, or this area up here. It's just, this one's just too slippery, but the printable vinyl looks, that's a pretty killer kind of application of a pastel pencil on there. So I don't know. I'm shocked that it can apply on that. The printable vinyls kind of they really, I don't know, they really surprise me a lot of times with just the different types of media that can be applied to them. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go back to some of this white pigment. Do we do that now? Oh, okay. So on the printable vinyl, here's what I was thinking too. I almost forgot. Let me see if I have a real light gray. That's like a 20% gray. I thought I might be able to get the shadows underneath here with something like these lighter toned alcohol pens. So let's give it a try. I don't know, was there something to these papers that said don't use alcohol in them? I don't remember. I think we're going to try, though. I have a feeling that once you lay it down there, it is like, it's set. So I would be pretty, um, you know, sure about the application of it. So I'm just going with a very light value. So it seems to be working just fine. But I would go with a really light value, though. Okay. Of something. Here, let me see. I might have even light. See, like this is like a super light blue right here. So I'm just going to add that underneath these cresting waves just to develop the shadows a little bit. I don't think we need to do as much to this as I thought we might, or I might want to. But I'm pretty pleased with that sky reflecting down into this. It's really taken a lot of the I don't know, whatever the necessity for more out of it for me. Because I get a little of those clouds reflecting down there. Okay, here's a little bit of a, yeah, this blue's really dry. I think it was a little bit of a darker blue. Here's a green. I think we can go with just about any kind of pastels. I mean, that's too green. Let's see. Let's go here. Let me go back to this blue. I can't tell if it's blending the colors that I've already laid down or not, just because it's such a light application of it. Maybe it will, because I know it does just on plain white photo paper. Okay, I think that is all I'm going to go with here. So there, you see this, see there's a little bit more of like that slight shaded area under those crest of those waves like that. But still a lot of bling in there. Okay, so let's add in some, let's go for that splatter painting again. And I'm going to add it right around in these areas right here. On the design, I have these crashing waves right here, okay? I'm showing you this, because it's hard to see on this holographic. It's so reflective, but I'm going to be doing some splatter painting around in on these two areas right in here. And getting a little bit of overspray should, kind of give a little bit more continuity to the overall because of all the splatter painting going on in the sky area too. Who was mentioning Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Froggy Fresh, of course. Froggy Fresh, do you have like comic books? Do you guys collect? Do you guys have any comic books? There's the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic that came out. They call it an indie because it was like an independent release. It might have been self-published or something like that. It was like back in the 80s, and it was when I was getting out of collecting. And I think that comic book came into my comic store, and my comic book store owner was showing it to me. I think I seem to recall that. I hadn't been in there, but she brought that out and was, kind of seeing if I wanted to, get a couple copies because anytime there's a first issue of something, you know, you that's those types of things that I was collecting, and I was like thinking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That sounds like, you know, like really silly. So I didn't get a copy of it, and that first release edition of it, in good condition, I know it's like worth, I don't know, it was like tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, so there's that splashing texture down there. Can you see it down in here? In here? Let me see if I can hold this. There, you can kind of see it more without all that kind of super glare coming off of there. But then I put some of it down in this area as well. So you get some of this coming down in this area that's kind of a little bit less related. Here, I'll do like a fine mist spray of this down here just to get a little bit of that texturing like down there as well. Okay. And let's go with, let me see if I can add this on here. I'm going to see if that pastel pencil, how well it's adhered to it. I'm going to see if I can put some of these white paint pen highlights right over the top of some of that pastel. I have a feeling, a lot of it's got to be floating on there, I would think, because I don't understand how it's adhering to begin with. But I don't know, maybe that emulsion coating on there, it's, maybe it's a little bit tacky or something like that. So it's enough for a soft pastel to stick to, I'm not sure. I can't even see what I'm applying here because I got so much light kind of reflecting off of this into my face like that. But yeah, see that little bit? So I'm going to be doing some of those little highlights like that to accentuate, that foam coming off of these waves. You might not even be able to see it, but if you give this to someone and they kind of hold it at an angle, then they'll see these little kind of those little elements like that, maybe. I don't know, you might not even need to do this. I'd say there's already kind of a lot of stuff going on in this scene. Okay, I can't even see what I'm doing here, but Okay, okay, you can see it right up here, you know, a little bit, these types of things on the crest of the waves. See that little variation there? Here, let me just add it right down in here. I'm going to add it in the foreground area. I'm getting blinded by the holographic paper. Which is what we want, right? We want that to be nice and reflective and kind of dazzling. Okay, and let's add some of it down here in these rocks too. We'll kind of make it shimmer a little bit. Okay, now let's try to... is my camera out of focus? There we go. I need a new bottle of Dr. Martens. I do. I need a bunch of things. I need to place an order here sometime. I haven't ordered because I had several bottles at one time, and I was wondering if I still did. It's because I took it to a class one time, so I had probably like 5 bottles for people to use. And I don't know, did I splatter, you know? I use a lot of this on those vellum birch tree applications. That's when I really go through that paint quite a lot. But splatter painting, I barely use anything. You know, even if I'm splatter painting kind of on a regular basis, I use so little of it when doing that. Okay, so let's add a little bit of this misty kind of touch. It's hard for me to see what I'm doing here, so I'm kind of going up above those waves a little bit. You know, one person, they on Facebook, I've mentioned this before in these live streams, but one person on Facebook, when I've posted some of the holographic types of projects, cards that I've done, one person wrote one time, they said they have some holographic card stock, but they haven't worked with it too much because when they did, it made them dizzy. You know? And I kind of get what they're talking about too, you know, because sometimes when you get this, and if it's kind of bright, you get this kind of like flashing in your eyes all the time. So sometimes it's hard for me to see because my eyes are adjusting, you know, compensating for that reflected light coming off the surface. It doesn't really make me dizzy, but you do get these flashing kind of lights in there. Okay, so I'm bringing some of this down here as well. Like so. Okay, so it's kind of fogging over some of these areas. That looks really busy, like right in here. So let's add some of this. It's like a fog on the beach or something like that. And again, I don't want to do it over everything because I want to kind of oscillate it. You know, we'll have a little bit here and a little bit there. So I'm just doing it to kind of texturally kind of mellow out some of these areas right in here. And then also when you do this and you're putting it down on this craft paper and also on this completely unrelated paper, when you have some kind of these textures on both of them, it acts as kind of a, I don't know, a universal type of element to kind of merge the two together or harmonize the two from an optical standpoint. So in other words, when you're using, you know, like 2 different types of things together, you know, just have some kind of things. It could be an image that's the same. It could be a color, texture, anything like that, or use multiples together. And it, you know, it'll just give it a little bit of a better chance of merging, kind of together. Now this one I really didn't know if it would go. And I mean, these are clearly two, completely different textures right here. But I think it harmonized enough though. Especially in that horizon card formatting. So let me take a look at that again here. Let me see it. I'm going to see if I should put some of this white pigmenting kind of more up on the horizon right up here. I think I am. I'm not going to put too much, but I'm going to put a little bit right in here. It's hard to see if I'm applying anything, okay? I can see I am, but just kind of be aware of how much you're applying, because you can start applying it, and if it's like it doesn't look like you're applying, sometimes the tendency is to go for really thick slathering and then to hit it, and then you might get a big blob of ink. Now on the printable vinyl, when you apply this on there, it sticks like crazy. It's like dry on here. That's not going to come off like almost instantly. It's like the direct opposite of doing this type of ink on foil, where it's wet for a while, or even when it starts setting up or completely dry, you can just put your finger right across it and it'll remove that ink instantly, okay? On the printable vinyl, you have that emulsion coating on there, so it'll really remove fast. Or it won't remove, okay? It dries fast, that's what I'm saying. All right, so I think that should do it there. Yeah. I'm looking up in those clouds. I thought I'd be having to touch up those clouds because I thought they would dry, but I think it's doing okay up there. Let me do something. Okay, so let me do a little tweak here. I'm going to bring in, I thought it got a little too textural up there, so I'm going to add a little bit more of this to kind of add a little bit of this fogging technique up here. And I'm going to bring that into some of those splatter painted stars right up in there. It might create a little bit more depth in the sky as well. I think it does. Okay, I have that. See, I extended this over here, but it's in a real kind of translucent application. And let's bring these clouds up a little bit more too. I need to be careful about that. I don't want to tap over that black because it could potentially remove that black before I spray seal it. Okay, so I came over here and came down into those stars a little bit more, and I'm coming up into that area as well. All right, I think that should do it. So we'll allow these to dry. I'm not sure what I'll put on the outside yet. Maybe that quote, kind of the journey of a lifetime or something like that, begins with the first step or something like that. But, all right. There is our almost half page. Blue foil vinyl holographic sticker paper patterned. Where did that paper go? Oh, here we go. It's this paper right here for the Seaside Cove. I don't know how you describe this. It's not just the straight holographic, although that one can be used. But this one has that little kind of patterning to it. Okay. And that piece has been adhered to just a piece of your plain craft paper. Okay, so we have like this type of combination of papers. Now it's not this one right here, but it's real similar. Let's see if I have that blue here, or another piece of it. I've used up a few pieces of it. Oh yeah, here we go. See, it's in this pack right here that came with, it's similar to the gold pack that comes with that red piece in there, but it was this one right here. So we have this, okay, as far as making up the same scene. I don't know. I think it's great that it worked out, though. For me, the thing that really helped me on this one, when I think about it, it was this white pastel pencil. Oh, I forgot about that. I guess I added that little tone up there with that white pigment ink, but I guess I could have just drawn it up there with the pastel pencil too. But that pastel pencil really, I don't know, again, you see those waves look a lot more dimensional with that white in there, I think. That patterning like that was pretty textural, and even the Seaside Cove, which doesn't have a lot of solid things in there except for those foreground things, I think that highlighting really helped it out quite a bit. So I don't know. This pastel pencil has been a really, significant medium for me of late in working on all these pieces. It just made, doing these highlights and things like this on these types of papers just so much easier. And again, this pastel pencil isn't going to work on this foil or something like that, but I don't know, it's working on a lot of different surfaces so far that I've tried it on, and shocked that it's working on the holographic sticker paper. That horizon little globe there, I think that was just what that needed, huh? Because it looks like that moon is really reflecting down here. I kind of obscured it, by adding this white across there, because I used to be able to see that moon in this area a little bit more, but it's kind of obscured, so we just have this little horizon glow out there. I think that worked out pretty good because it looks like the moonlight's hitting it. So, okay, so spray fixative on both the top and bottom, and then this is a pretty big surface area, so I'm going to use my spray adhesive on the back of these. And then what you do is you do it one at a time, and then you just lock this bottom one or the top one into place first, and then at an angle, with whatever type of adhesive you're using. Then you take this and butt that up right up against that area right there, and then lay it down with your adhesive on there. And then a lot of times I'm off by a little bit, where it's like, this is like over a little bit. Not that, not that much, but sometimes I'm over like by that much, and then it's hanging over this side. So that you take this and you flatten it out, after they're both adhered to this, and I just do an extra trim on the sides and top and bottom to make these two pieces, these two components, flush, with the card base. And then again, I'm going to put like a quote or something like that up here, I think. So, and that'll be, the interior on this. So anyway, that was a really fun one, because it worked out. And I don't know, I didn't have too many problems with it. I thought I would have a huge amount of problems with a lot of these different areas on here. This could use a little bit more mist or something like that down there, but I'll take a look at it and I'll see how it works out. And if I need to, especially after I spray seal it, It's like if that white just completely disappears down here. Not the white impressions, but the white pigmenting and pastel pencil. Then I'll just go it again over it again a little bit, and I'll build up those tones a little bit more. So yeah, whew. Fun stuff. I don't know if it looks, too holiday-ish, you know what I mean? If I use like a blue foil for, and just did this whole scene on one piece of blue foil, I think it'd look real kind of Christmassy, especially if you do something like with a North Star up there, something like that. You can do a paint pen and do something like that up there instead of a moon or something like that. It tends to look a lot more, I don't know, kind of holiday-ish, especially with those crystals in there. All right, let's see. Caroline, hello, Caroline. Glad you like it, Ginger. Anyone have a good name for this one? Can't think of anything. Nothing's coming to mind. But here, I'll show you this in the different light right here. So you have this right here, and they're opening it up. It's not so, I don't know, the lighting doesn't change too much on this one like the holographics, but, But I do like that foil up there like that. So someone asked if this was a Star Dream lapis lazuli, and I think that would be a good, color up there as well. You might get a little bit more of this kind of reflected light on more of that kind of, this type of foil like this, but I think the lapis lazuli would work really good too. Before I had that moon in there and the stars, I always think it looked like a daytime scene, So, yeah. Santa in a rowboat. That would be a good one in there. Yeah. So that being said, I think you can use other colors for this down here as well, and I think that would work out pretty good. I might need to hit a little bit more of like a vignette, a darker tone, like right here in the lower left and right corner too, just to contain things a little bit more and to make it. This is still looking a little bit textural for me, or too textural, so I might want to kind of mellow that out a little bit by, you put a little bit more darkness around it, like shadow, and then like that white textural light down here. In this case, it would be like a little bit of fog or something like that. I think that would take care of that and finish this piece off pretty good. It was fun, Caroline. I was really surprised at some of the things that came about and how it looked at various stages of it. So I think we can do, I don't know, maybe not a quick card, but I think this could be done pretty fast. And I think it looked, like I said, I think it looked really great without the, even without those palm trees in there. So if we get some kind of background in there like that. But this right here, that Seaside Cove, was pretty fun to do. And to just, I like the fact that you can just stamp it over these holographics like that. I've done something like that before. I think I stamped it on silver foil or something like that. But just stamp this out like that. And then you cut it out, and it was like an easy cut because this is like a rectangle. Down here it's a little bit more varied, so you can kind of see this right down here. It's a little bit more curved, but that's an easy cutout, so you can just lay that down there if you don't want that same patterning and texture or type of paper in this foreground area, and you can just merge it with whatever you want. So this paper right here goes underneath the whole thing though, okay? Just to keep it nice and stiff. But I think we can do a lot of things with this now. Now that I look at that, on this printable vinyl like this especially, if we can do that lighting with this on there, that like takes care of all the, or a huge amount of the light and shade work that I like to add in there, I mean, I added in those, little alcohol pen touches underneath there for shadows, but it probably didn't even need it. So, I mean, we can probably get some pretty fast types of applications of this type of thing going with, I don't know, with minimal work. And then you know, if you had some kind of like photo statement, I love using this Seaside Cove here with a photo up here, you know, photo stamping. So I think we can do, like I said, really fast versions of this, just, you know, in smaller versions or with just less, I don't know, componentry that, you know, we can remove out of it. Like I said, you do this up here in a photo, you know, have some kind of photo stamping type of thing up there. And we're talking about like really fast reflection cards out there. You can almost like mass produce it. All right, folks, hope you have a great rest of evening. Thanks so much for joining in and checking out this experiment here. I really had a great time with it. I mean, I had so much fun playing around with some of the art foamies things. I'm seeing things that I haven't seen before, just, you know, little tweaks on things, you know, with that pastel pencil and, you know, just things working with scale with the art foamies things. You know, this was like from yesterday. Oh yeah, I was thinking about adding those little tiny orby things right here. Nah, we already got too much stuff going on there. It's already kind of texture. Oh, here, I forgot. One last thing, okay? And I remembered it at one point in time. I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit of glow to a couple of these stars, but I forgot. So let's do that right now. So these stars aren't quite as white anymore. The paint pen ones did turn, see, they look like light blue right there. And I didn't use light blue, I just used that white paint pen, okay? But let's go in and add a little bit of a glowing type of touch to some of these stars in here. It'll kind of break up the monotony of some of the stars up here and textures, you know, splatter painted texture. Everything's like a perfect like little dot, but we'll make a couple of them glow a little bit more. I'm talking about the paint and the splatter painting and the marker. Okay, let's see here. I think here, let me change the exposure of my camera again so you can get a better gist of it. Okay, so see those little glowing stars up there? Yeah, see those little glowing little lights like that? So it breaks up that just, you know, perfectly crisp dot pattern in there. It kind of makes some of these stars kind of relate to the soft clouds too, the texture of the soft clouds. All right, so there we have it, like that. You see those little glowing stars up there? How, you know, they can make a pretty big difference. So, from a textural standpoint. All right, thanks again, everyone. Hello, Barbara Joe. Glad you like it. Thanks for joining in. Oh yeah, it's December. Unbelievable. Happy December 1st to everyone. And Horizon cards. I hope you, you know, give these, if you haven't tried a Horizon card or a reflection card yet, highly recommended. They're kind of addictive too, just in terms of what you can utilize or what you can create utilizing just the natural fold of a, you know, a folded card. It's really fun using that interior like that. So, all right, fun stuff. All right, thanks again, everyone.